Hey guys, NaturallyNellzy here today with a video, and today we are talking about single strand knots. Now, this video was brought on by a lot of comments that I was seeing from you guys on Instagram. And one of the things that I kept seeing like repeatedly in the comments was, how do you not get single strand knots? So today I'm here to basically tell you guys how I deal with it and how I'm able to do certain things without worrying too much about them. If you guys are wondering what exactly is a single strand knot, or SSK, stands for single strand knot, it's basically a knot that does form in your hair, or I should say on a hair strand. So you'll have a hair strand, and if you look at it, you'll see that it has a little like spherical kind of shape to it. It's basically a knot, and it mainly occurs in women who have a tighter, kinkier hair texture. For instance, like 4A, 4C a lot, because that tends to have more of a zigzag kind of shape to it. But with curly hair, what will happen is that our hair suffers from a lot of shrinkage. When you guys, obviously that's like one of our biggest struggles. So of course, when your hair is naturally curly, especially when you have a tighter curl section, it's like rather than your ends being straight, they kind of kink up. And when they do this, and sometimes they loop up, and then it just goes into a knot. And it's very simple. You guys can see it. Sometimes what I'll do is I'll play with some of my hair. It's weird. I'll play with my hair sometimes. I like put it in water, and then you'll see the hair like start to coil up by itself. So you can actually see it intertwine into a knot, and that's basically what happens. It usually happens when you are doing a lot of different stylings, where maybe the tools you're using is causing your curls to be super defined, or even if you're doing wash and go with gel, definitely makes your hair shrink up. So for me, when I see a single strand knot in my hair, I look at it and I'm like, that's interesting. If I do find them, I'll just go ahead and pick it apart. And sometimes if you're lucky, you'll get the majority of the strands out from the actual knot itself, but then at the end there's always that one strand that just has that knot left. Some of the hairs, because it's possible for you to get more than one knot on one strand, and it's also possible for there to be multiple strands in one knot. So if you can save a couple of strands rather than having to just chop off all of them, you can do that. If you want to go for more so of a faster approach, you can also just snip the knots where you see them. But again, it's a lot of hair, so it's up to you if you do want to go through that whole time process. If you do find a knot in your hair, you definitely don't want to snag it, you don't want to break it, you don't want to just snap it off, because of course the knot itself most likely is going to get tighter, which makes it even harder to remove, if you can remove it, that is, because that's like the biggest trial itself. And if it's tighter, most likely it's going to go past the knot and it's going to break off the other part of your hair strand. Now you're left with a smaller piece of hair. So strand knots, the biggest thing that usually causes it is the certain products that you use. So for instance, if you're doing a lot of wash and goes and you're manipulating your hair in a way where it's going to coil up because you want them defined curls, you may want to limit the amount of time in which you do wash and goes throughout the months, because of course this is going to cause your hair to like I said, kink up and go into those knots. Basically, having moisture is a big part in preventing your hair from getting single strand knots, mainly because when your hair is dry and then you apply a product on top of it, it doesn't really provide a lot of slip for the hair so that it can come out of that knot if it needs to, or it's easy for it to unravel if it's starting to form a knot. A huge misconception sometimes is just thinking that oils is going to help your hair and you don't need a moisturizer. No, you need to have a balance. It needs to be a moisturizer that's designated for moisture. It could be a leave-in conditioner, it could be an actual lotion conditioner, or it could just be a conditioner itself, either or, to each his own. And then you get the oil. The oil seals in the moisture, so it's going to make the hair both hydrated, but then it's also going to give you that slip and make sure it's smooth as well. A quick tip to piggyback off of the moisture factor is the ends of your hair. That's definitely a big portion of how these knots form, because you got to think about it, how the knots form mostly at the ends. So if you can, definitely try and see if you can apply some moisture there. You get it from root to tip. And there's a reason for that, because the ends are of course the oldest part of your hair, which means that it is the most brittle, it's prone to more breakage, being drier. So you definitely want to make sure that you moisture the end, and you also apply the oil to the ends as well. I would probably say, if you can, see if you can apply a bit more oils to the ends. You definitely want to pay attention to them, baby them, as I like to say, because that is going to lead your hair to basically stray away from being too dry and forming into those knots. And if it does, you can save it, and then again, it's just going to help your hair in the long run, because those ends can hold on for a longer portion, and that can also lead to you retaining more length as well. Next tip that you guys can use is basically manipulating your hair to the point where it's going to be stretched out. When your hair is stretched out, it basically avoids it from crimping up and, you know, basically forming into those knots again and, you know, raveling into each other. So what you can do to get the maximum stretch out of your hair, for me, I know flat twist is definitely something that's really good for my hair. You can also do maybe jumbo twisting your hair, because of course you guys know the smaller the twist, the tighter the curls, and the bigger the twist, the looser the curl. Puffs definitely stretch the hair, especially when they are worn with gel. What you guys can do is, of course, if your hair is already in the puff factor, you can just place a scarf on that, and you can do the pineapple method. I'll definitely leave that video down below. And then of course, something else that you guys want to do, if you do want to do your twist, if you want to get even more stretch out of it, do your twist like you usually do. Go ahead and stretch them out, and then basically place a bobby pin to keep them in place so that it can keep it in a stretch form, so that when you're sleeping overnight, your hair most likely will be stretched out once you unravel it. And then best of both worlds, you have a longer length of hair, and then you also have some prevention methods for single strand knots. Another tip that I have for you guys would be protective styling. If you are opposite of me and you actually do not wear your hair out as much, this is going to be your best friend in avoiding single strand knots, mainly because the ends of your hair are protected majority of the time, whether it be maybe in extensions, maybe in braids, maybe in a bun, roll, tuck and pin, anything of that nature. That's going to protect your ends, and if you're doing it right, you did moisturize before you did your protective style, so girl, you were good. Like, you were. And of course, if you have any other tips to share with us naturals, curly girls, and helping us trying to get rid of these single strand knots or just prevent them, period, please be sure to leave them down below. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.